Hello and welcome again to this edition of FiTV. I'm your host, Brad Swanson. We are coming to you just a few blocks from Florida's capital. We are joined today by Representative Byron Donalds, a great member of the legislature, always active and running all sorts of bills. Byron, thanks for coming on.
Oh, thanks for having me.
All right, we're good. All right, let's go. We're ready to start the session. We've got a lot of things. You are involved in a diverse policy portfolio, if you will. I want to get in first to private property rights, and let's start there. What are you doing in that world?
We're doing a number of things. I think one of the things I'm running this session is actually a home-based business bill. Okay. This bill is actually very simple. What it does is it allows citizens across the entire state of Florida to make sure that they can use their house to start their home-based business, whether they're being an accountant, whether they're being massage therapy, whatever the case might be, they can use their home as long as they're not violating noise ordinances or traffic ordinances. We'd want to make sure that in the state of Florida that local government doesn't take away those rights and those abilities, because your home is your dwelling, you're paying for it, and so you should have the ability to use your home as you see fit, as long as you're not violating any other ordinances outside the dwelling of the home.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. You think about like Dell Computers and Microsoft. I mean, these are legendary stories where literally they worked in garages, and that's where they started. So, I mean, you know, it's great to empower people to start those businesses at home.
Listen, that's the baseline of America.
Yeah.
Private property rights are essential to our republic, essential to the country, essential to the state of Florida. We want to make sure that we protect that.
All right, so you have long, thank you for doing that, but you have long been a champion of school choice. What's happening in that space this year, and where do you see it going?
Well, the number one thing is we're actually fortunate in Florida. We've made major progress in the area of school choice, especially last legislative session with the Family Empowerment Scholarship, something that allows families, no matter where they're from, no matter how much they earn, no matter where they live or where they reside, it gives parents the ability to help put their child in the best environment possible. This year, I think what we're going to do is start to look at early learning education, making sure that children, before they come into the K-12 system, whether it's in private school or public school or through a charter school or a virtual school, that they have the necessary building blocks to be successful.
Right.
That we make sure that the teachers in early learning space have the right training, that children are prepared as they come into the education space. I think also on that we're going to look at a couple of other charter rules, things to just bring more balance to the system overall. But at the end of the day, we want children to be successful.
Right.
And our belief is that children are successful when they have opportunities and options to get their education.
Yeah. What's amazing in that space is, you know, we grew up in a very kind of automaton, militaristic, you sit in the class, you do route memorization, and so many people come into that system from a diverse background with all skill sets. And if you weren't up to speed by the time you got there, you were just held back or you declined. Now we're attacking that challenge by educating these kids earlier and getting them ready. It's so important to get them ready before they come to the system.
It is, but I would also add to you, you see, school choice, educational choice is really about the freedom of the individual. Right. We're all different people. Right. We think differently, we learn differently. So some people learn well in a rote memorization environment. Right. Some people learn well in a collaborative environment. Some people learn well in a hands-on environment. And the real purpose of school choice is making sure that every child, no matter who they are, because they're all different, have the possibility to get into the best environment so they can basically maximize their educational opportunities, be successful in the future, be great adults and great citizens.
Yeah, and what we've seen is charter schools in Florida under Governor Bush, when he started making these major reforms, the amount of academic, progress that kids make in their various environments where they thrive because they're different, as you said, I mean, the charter schools and the vouchers and all that sort of stuff just gives an amazing opportunity to kids across the board. So
absolutely.
It's good.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's go to a topic that I know is very passionate, near and dear to your heart. It's criminal justice reform. We've had folks on this show talking about this in previous years. We've had you on. Where does criminal justice reform stand? What are the challenges and what's happening in this legislative session about that?
Well, I think we've made great strides in the past. Last legislative session, we passed a number of measures. One was increasing the felony theft threshold in Florida, something that I championed for several years here. But I will tell you, the legislature as a whole, Republican and Democrat, there is a realization that even though somebody commits a crime, somebody's done wrong in society, we want them to pay their debt. That absolutely must be done. But there has to be a pathway for them to come back and be a citizen again. It does not help the ex-offender, and it doesn't help society at large if the ex-offender, who has frankly done what they said they've done what they needed to do to make amends for their past mistakes doesn't have an opportunity to continue on and be successful. Right. So one of the things that I know I'm sponsoring this year is the Florida First Step Back Again, to go into things like probation reform, to go into things where if you attain occupational licensing, you get some additional credits and gain time, which can help to reduce a sentence. Right. Not to cut your sentence in half or to lower it and you get a get out of jail free card, but if you're actually getting a CDL license, if you're getting a contracting license, if you're getting a barber's license, if you're on the pathway to getting the type of credentialing you need to be a successful individual, then we need to respond to that, to make sure that when you leave, whether it's incarceration or probation, that you're on the pathway to doing that.
Right. Because I mean, in that space, recidivism and having obstacles to a path to success just encourage somebody who's been in that world to continue to be in a criminal-based world, or recidivism has a high opportunity to kick back in, and they're going to go back to what they're doing unless they have these paths to new opportunities.
Absolutely. Listen, I totally believe in the redemption of the human being. I think this is the land of second chances. None of us, we've all fallen short of the glory of God, in my opinion and in my view. But I do believe that if somebody has done wrong, there's an opportunity for them to get it right and to move on and be a citizen. And I think that where we're going in Florida is making adjustments to our criminal justice system overall, so that citizens have an opportunity, even though they've made those mistakes, to be redeemed and to come back into society and be whole citizens again.
Well, we're gonna stay up to date on what you're doing in that world on criminal justice reform. It's a interest of FIT and our viewers, so we'll continue to follow what you're doing there. All right, so let's take a step to the financial and economic development world. You are the chair of insurance and banking. So many issues come in that world. Florida, for sure, when we think about hurricanes, you know, the insurance conversation comes up immediately. When you think about banking, we have a legalized cannabis state, so the bankers are working on how do we bank the cannabis place. What's happening in insurance and banking? And as you as chair, you know, how are you leading your fellow representatives on that committee?
Well, a couple of things. One of the big things we're going to have to tackle this session is making sure that with all the hurricanes, especially the last one, Hurricane Matthew, is that we're making sure that policyholders are being made whole as quickly as possible. Right. And I will say that insurance companies, they've been doing a very good job of trying to make sure that they address those claims as they come in. What we're going to do is probably do some tinkering to make sure that those pathways are clear, so that whether you're a policyholder, whether you're an insurance company, whether you're an attorney representing a policyholder, that everybody kind of knows the rules to the road and we can be as effective as possible. Right. Some other things that are happening is, you know, we are looking at the insurance industry overall with homeowners insurance. I mean, we're a peninsula as a state. You know, we have water on 3 sides. Hurricanes are a reality for Florida. Right. And so we want to make sure that the overall health of the insurance industry is there for our state, not just this year, but going forward. Because the last thing we want to see are premium rates increasing on homeowners. Sure. We also want to make sure that this is a place where insurance companies can come in, provide the necessary coverage for our citizens, also, which is a part of their business model, being able to turn a profit, because it's a lot of work, it's a lot of research, it's a lot of analysis in order to insure as many homes as we have in our state. Yeah, I think so many people don't know that insurance companies, if you're going to sell homeowners insurance, they also have to provide car and auto and all these other requirements, and they can't cherry pick, and we do that to offset the overall risk of the entirety of the state. But we also have a challenge, being that coastal state, we're a peninsula, is the people on the very edge. Obviously, our highest property values typically are closest to the water. You know, it's the rest of the state internally that pays the burden for that to equal out the rates. So it's a challenge really to have an insurance model that is fair and equitable for everybody. So you know, I mean, do you feel that the industry, the policyholder advocates, the attorneys that play in that space, do you have a sense that everybody's working together to continue to modify the framework so it's ready for the future? I wouldn't say that they're working together, but I think, you know, that's my responsibility and the responsibility of the members of the legislature to find that path where everybody can at least operate in commerce together. I think the last thing that we definitely do not want to see is a repopulation or an increase in the number of policies in Citizens Insurance. Citizens is essentially the state authorized insurance company of last resort. We've done a tremendous job under previous leadership, Senator Richter in the Banking and Insurance Committee in the past, Governor Scott obviously in the past, and current Governor DeSantis, of keeping those policy levels lower in Citizens. We want to maintain that going forward.
Right, of course. And really the private sector, when they're allowed to provide policies at a competitive price, you know, that's the free market plays a great role to get value for customers of insurance. Okay, let's move off of insurance and to a fun issue that's literally the cause celeb of so many television shows, paying college athletes.
Yes.
Right? I mean, we first heard about it with Dwayne Johnson and Ballers, and now it's real policy. California did it. Florida's looking at a different model. Where is that issue?
I think we're going to act in Florida. First of all, the NCAA has no leg to stand on.
Right.
For the longest time, the NCAA has acted as one of the old hand boxing promoters, where essentially they're organizing fights and they're selling tickets, but they're taking all the revenue for themselves, and the actual boxer, the man in the arena, actually gets nothing. Paying college athletes sounds even weird as you describe it. What we're really saying is that a student athlete, a college athlete, who gets a scholarship to attend a university, Florida State, University of Florida, Miami, wherever the case might be. Yes, you get a scholarship to go play, but if there is a desire for your name, for your signature, for your presence, to be able to sell that in the marketplace, you should be able to do that and free to do that. Forever, the NCAA has blocked college athletes from doing that. Meanwhile, they're making billions and billions of dollars on the backs of athletes who are A, trying to get an education, but B, let's be realistic, also trying to turn pro. So what we're saying is that no, they shouldn't be paid by the colleges to play, but we are saying that you should be able to sell your likeness. Listen, Brad, you're awesome. If you could go out on YouTube and get 30 million followers on YouTube and make money doing that, you should be free to do so. Same thing for a college athlete. Same thing for Joe Burrow at LSU. Same thing for whoever the next quarterback's going to be at Florida State. They should be able to sell their likeness to do that.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it. You know, kids in high school, if they're building their brand on Instagram, these influencers, if you will, these kids become $1 million brands, and it's their own hustle of their own brand and their own marketplace. Typically disassociated with any university, you know, gift or the work that they do on the field for the university when they're playing for the NCAA. Well, that'll be fascinating to see how the legislature comes down on that. You feeling that it's going to pass?
Oh, I think we're going to get it done. Listen, at the end of the day, this is economic freedom. If you have the ability where somebody wants to shake your hand, get your autograph, follow you on YouTube, want to see you endorse a product, you should be able to earn money doing that in the United States of America.
It's so fascinating. It's such a weird world where we're in right now. It's just, it blows my mind that people can capitalize on this. Okay, in our last seconds, quickly, Florida First Step Act, where's that?
I think we're going to move along the lines of getting that done. It's a harder policy. It's a much broader policy, but we're going to work hard on it. Well, Representative Byron Donalds, we know you are a great leader in Florida. You're a convener of folks on all sides of the aisle. We appreciate you coming on FiTV, and we're going to follow all these bills you're working on, and if we can get you back on again during session, we'd love to. Thanks for coming on. Awesome. Thank you, man.
Appreciate you.